Hello everyone, welcome back to the series on tenses. In today's video, what we are going to learn is present perfect continuous tense. Yes, as I said before in the previous video lessons, in English there are 12 types of tenses. However, in today's lesson we are learning the fourth one. Do check it out in the description box. Hope you will find really useful. Alright, so let's get into it. Now, what is the formula or verb structure of this tense? I mean present perfect continuous tense. That is has or have plus been plus V plus ing. Just memorize this formula. I will explain the basic review later. Just memorize this. What is the formula of this tense? Has or have plus been plus V plus ing. Alright, so that's the first important point that you should keep it in mind. Now coming to the point, when could you use this present perfect continuous tense? Alright, so when it comes to present perfect continuous tense, you have to remember this important concept. So what is the main use of this concept here? It is used to express an action that began at some point in the past and is still continuing and may extend into future. To put it really simple, just look at the screen. What does that mean actually? An action that started in the past and continued in the present. Alright, say for example, I have been writing this poem for 2 hours. Here, 2 hours before an action has been started. Right? Now, what's the action? Writing process. But did I complete my writing work? No. It might take 1 hour to get completed or 1 month to get completed, but the action is still going on. That's the concept. So that's when you could use this tense. So an action that started in the past and is still going on in the present. Hope you got it. One more example would be, she has been studying since morning. Note the verb structure. What is it? Has been plus V plus ing. I mean has been studying. That means she started her learning process in the morning. If you look at her, she's still reading. Nobody knows when she would close her book. Alright. So but the action is going on. So, when we are speaking about an action that started in the past and continued in the present, that's when you end up using this present perfect continuous tense. Alright. Now, what we are going to do is, let's learn how to form this tense in a detailed way as well. To make it really simple, I have divided this into 3 sections. So, what are they? Positive sentences or positive forms, negative sentences or negative forms, question sentences or interrogative forms. Alright, so let's go through each one step by step. First, let's see positive forms by using present perfect continuous tense. Alright, now what is the formula of this tense? Has or have plus been plus V plus ing. Alright, so we are going to apply this formula. Let's take a really simple sentence. So what is that? I have been singing since morning. Now, what do you notice on the right side? I, we, you, they, he, say, it, right? So they are all subjects. Now, what is mean by subjects? In English, all nouns and pronouns belong to the category of subjects. So what happens in the positive forms basically? Now, the most important point that you should keep it in mind is that subjects like I, we, you, they, we must choose have been plus V plus ing. On the other hand, for he, say, it, just select has or have plus been plus V plus ing. That's the most important rule that you should keep it in mind whenever you tend to form positive sentences in present perfect continuous tense. Alright. I mean, I have been singing since morning. We have been singing since morning. You have been singing since morning. They have been singing since morning. He has been singing since morning. She has been singing since morning. It has been singing since morning. Alright. So that's how you end up framing these positive forms as well. Now let's get into the negative forms. Alright. So now what happens in negative forms basically? All you can do is add not after the helping verb have, or you could shorten it like haven't. Let me tell you clearly. Here, subjects like I, we, you, they, you could use have not or haven't. Rather, he, say, it, you can select has not or hasn't. Alright. So let's go through this. Just to look at the screen. I haven't been singing since morning. we haven't been singing since morning. You haven't been singing since morning. They haven't been singing since morning. He hasn't been singing since morning. She hasn't been singing since morning. It hasn't been singing since morning. Alright. Here also the same concept that you should apply. So what is that? For I, we, you, they, you just select have. He, she, it, you have to select has. Alright. So that's how you end up using negative forms in present perfect continuous tense. Now remember, for he, she, it, there is always going to be a little different. Alright, let's get into question sentences. How to create question forms by using present perfect continuous tense. Alright, so here you have to learn two methods. Now let's get into the first one. Just exchange the subject and the helping verb have. So whenever you tend to frame any type of questions, specifically yes or no type, just to remember this crucial concept. So what is that? You have to interchange subject and the verb. Say for example, just to look at the screen, what do you see here? Have I been singing since morning? Have you been singing since morning? Have you been singing since morning? Have they been singing since morning? Has he been singing since morning? Has he been singing since morning? Has it been singing since morning? So these are positive question types. Alright, that's how you end up using positive sentences. I mean positive questions in present perfect continuous tense. How would you frame negative questions? Really simple. Just add not after the helping verb have. Alright? Just to look at these sentences. Haven't I been singing since morning? Haven't we been singing since morning? Haven't you been singing since morning? Haven't they been singing since morning? Hasn't he been singing since morning? Hasn't she been singing since morning? Hasn't it been singing since morning? Alright. So that's how you end up framing both positive and negative questions as well. Now what's the second method here? Using keywords like since, when and how long, we are going to frame questions. Just to notice the first question on the screen. Since when has the child been suffering from viral fever? How long have you been using this brand new iPhone? Alright, so this is the second method that we can use to frame questions. Alright, moving on to the next concept, and what is that? We are going to learn what are the keywords that we can use to frame present perfect continuous tense. Alright, so when it comes to present perfect continuous tense, so these are the keywords that you should remember. So what are they? Since, for, ever since when, and how long. So note this point, use since to a past point of time. Use ever since to a past incident. Use for the total period of time. Some examples would be, we have been using computers in our school since 2005. We have been living here in this house for 15 years. I have been living here since 2015. I have been working here on this project for 5 hours and I am tired now. Alright, so this was all about present perfect continuous tense. Let's do a quick review before we wind up. So what's the point number 1? The verb structure of present perfect continuous tense is has or have plus been plus we plus ing. For I, we, you, they, we have to choose have. And for he, she, it, we have to choose has. So what is the point number 2 here? Present perfect continuous tense can be used to talk about an action that started in the past and is still continuing in the present. Say for instance, I have been teaching for 10 years or I have been teaching since 2012. If you use year, select since. If you want to explain something in a general way without using year, just use for. Really simple, right? So, alright, moving on to the third point, we discussed about how to frame positive forms, negative forms and question forms by using present perfect continuous tense. Then lastly, we talked about keywords. So, alright, so that's it for today's lesson. I'll be back with another interesting video. Until then, you stay motivated. Thank you.